Good morning to all. Welcome back to our second chapter. Last day we had a session. In that class we discussed up to different forms of federation. Different forms of federation. Then what different list. What make India a federal country? That also we discussed on that day. Now we can discuss about the how is federalism practiced in India. How is federalism practiced in India? Listen. How is federalism practiced in India? That is our today's topic. Listen. Last day when we studied that features of a federalism, there we studied there will be a dual objective. Dual objective. Which are the dual objective of a federalism? First one, to safeguard the country, and the second one, promote unity by accommodating diversity. By accommodating diversity. Because of that dual objective, whenever federalism practiced in India, India give importance for that dual objectives. There are 5 ways are there to practice the federalism in India. First one, through language, through linguistic state. First one, linguistic through linguistic state. Linguistic state means formation of a state on the basis of a language. Formation of a state on the basis of a language. The same language speaking peoples are forming together and coming together and forming a state. Otherwise, on the basis of a ethnicity, culture and geographical condition. In a linguistic state means federalism is practiced in India through linguistic state. That means we are dividing the state on the basis of a languages. Same language speakers are form a state. Otherwise, on the basis of a geographical condition or a ethnicity or geographical condition, ethnicity and geographical condition and ethnicity. Ethnicity means a tribal group and culture. We are divide language, linguistic state. Second one, language policy. Listen, linguistic states are forming on the basis of a language. Here, language policy, in that system, in our country, there is no national language. We don't have national language, but we have a official language. Which is our official language? Hindi. Hindi is considered as our official language because around 40% of Indians are speaking Hindi. 40% peoples are speaking Hindi. That is why Hindi is considered as a official language, not a national language. Then moreover, there are 21 scheduled languages are there. 21 scheduled language. There are scheduled 21 scheduled language plus English. Then 22 scheduled languages are there in India. Why is it called as a scheduled language? That is mentioned in the 8th schedule of Indian Constitution. That is why these languages are known as a scheduled languages. That is mentioned there in the 8th schedule of a Indian Constitution. That is why it is known as what? Scheduled language. Listen, according to language policy, if we wish to attend a civil service exam or a central government, if we are trying to get a civil service job, we need to attend a civil service exam. At that time, we can opt any one language among these 21 language or English. If you wish to attend a civil service exam or any other, if you are trying to get any other central government job, we can attend the language among any one language among these 21 or English is common for us. Listen, the option of English was banned during 1965. In 1965, that option was banned. Because of that, there was a lot of problems, because many of the non-Hindi speaking state had many problems. That is why it leads to, especially in Tamil Nadu, they were started a movements also against that, when the English was banned, to opt for a banned to use the civil service examination or any central government job oriented exams. When the English was banned, there was a lot of problems. Then again our judiciary has the more power now. That we studied when we studied the features of a federalism. Then our Supreme Court interpreted there, and again we added English among the scheduled language. Did you have any idea about our languages? There are around 1,500 languages are there in our country. Then among that, including all colloquial language, among that 114 major languages also there. From there we select 21 plus English as a scheduled language. That is about a language policy. Then third one, center-state relation. Center-state relation. Center-state relation. Listen, when we studied that features of federalism, we know that power in a federal setup, power is sharing among different levels of the government. That means central government and state government. That is why federalism is also known as a vertical division of power. Here, central-state relation. How is it practiced in India? Listen, if the central government and state government both are governing a same, supposed to be like that. Central government and state government, in both level, same political parties are governing, or ruling parties. Both level, same political parties are ruling. There may be a chance for a soft corner towards central government will give preference for preference for such a states. Whenever they are allotting the fund and all, they will give a more and more preference for the state, those who are ruled by a same political party. Then that is not so good in a federal setup. There in a federal setup we are dividing the power among different states. There is no discrimination, but there may be a chance if the central government and the state government both are governed by a same political party, there may be a chance for a soft corner towards that such a state. Because in order to avoid that, during 1919, so many regional parties are emerged in a state. In 1990, so many regional parties are emerged. Then, at the same time, there was a chance for there was an emergence of a coalition government also. What do you mean by coalition government? Coalition government means if a single party didn't get clear-cut majority to form a government in a central in a country. Listen, coalition government means if a single party didn't get clear-cut majority to form a government, the major party can invite the other party, those who win the election. Did you get the idea? What do you mean by a coalition government? Coalition government means if a single party didn't get a clear-cut majority, that means more than 50% of vote is seat is essential to form a government in a democratic setup. But if a single coalition government, here coalition government means what? If a single party didn't get a clear-cut majority to form a government to run the country, that major party, those who get a more seat, that party can invite the other political parties, those who win the election, to form a government in order to make it as a more than 50%. That is known as that power is known as a coalition government. Here, center-state relation. When we practice the central-state relation, the formation of a coalition government more and more helps to strengthen the power of state. Is it clear? Listen, center-state relation. In a center-state relation in federal setup, we are dividing our power into power among central government and a state government. Then there is a problem. There may be a chance for a problem, because if the same party, same political parties are governing this both levels, that means central government and a state government, sometimes there may be a chance for a discrimination. The discrimination, that party, the national party or the political party, those who are governing the central government, if the same political party is governing a state government, there may be a chance for a discrimination. But in a federal setup, that is not allowed. In order to avoid such a situation, in 1919, there was a emergence of many regional parties in a state level. Moreover, that was the time of the formation of when the coalition government came to effect. What do you mean by coalition government means? What? If a single party didn't get a clear-cut majority in order to form a government to run the country, among that the major party can invite the political parties, those who win the election, and they can form a government for a country. That is known as a central state relation. Then next one, decentralization of power. Decentralization of power. Listen, when we study the features, federalism means division of power among different levels. There will be a second one word, there will be a more than 2 levels. In our decentralization of power means that is the third tier of government. Third tier of government. What was the third? Which are the third tiers of the government? That village or panchayat, municipality or a corporation. That is known as the division of power among panchayat, municipality and corporation. That is known decentralization. We are sharing our power into third level. That means we are taking the power from central government and state government and given to the local self-government bodies. That is known as a decentralization of power. The power is taken from central and state government and given to whom? Given to local self-government bodies. That is known as a decentralization of power. By providing decentralization of power, we can practice federalism in India. Then which are the 3 levels? First one, panchayat level. Panchayat level. Then block or mandal. Then Jilla Parishad. These are the local self-government bodies. In a panchayat level, there will be a ward member and a panchayat president. In a block or a mandal, there will be a block members and panchayat presidents. In a Jilla Parishad, there will be a sitting of a panchayat president, block members, MPs and MLAs. Which are the divisions of a local self-government. That is divided into 3: panchayat level, block or a mandal level and Jilla Parishad. Decentralization of power. Which are the advantages of a decentralization of power? First one, advantages or a merits. Merits of decentralization of power. Merits of decentralization of power. Which are the merits? What may be the merits? We can ensure the participation of the citizen. participation of the citizen. Listen. How can we ensure the participation of a citizen through decentralization of power? Do you have any idea about a Gram Sabha? Gram Sabha means it is a meeting of a villages or a sitting with their ward members. Sitting of a villages with their ward members. From there they will get a platform to inform their demands or their requirements which are the demands of the common citizen. During the time of a Gram Sabha, every ordinary people will get a chance to inform their demands in front of their ward member. Then that ward member will inform everything that the demands of that people in a when they will get a chance to when they will get a chance in a panchayat. There will be a sitting with a panchayat president. From there our ward member will collect every demands of the citizen and he will inform everything in front of the panchayat president. Then at last it will reach in the Jilla Parishad. In a Jilla Parishad, when if there is a sitting in a Jilla Parishad level, there will be our MP, MLA and panchayat presidents. They can inform every demands to the they can inform every demands of the citizen. Listen, now we will get a chance to we can ensure the participation of the citizen. No, that means if it is a Gram Sabha, it's a sitting with the common villages. From there we can demand for our needs. Then that every demands are collected by our panchayat ward member. Then he will present that in front of the panchayat president. Then at last it will reach into the hands of a MP and MLA. Then it is very easy to get a solution for the problems of a common village. That is why we can say decentralization of power ensure the participation of a common citizen. Then next one, it is very easy to know about the it is very easy to know about the revenue. And the expenses. Listen. Revenue of each level is constitutionally guaranteed. That is constitutionally guaranteed. Then that we studied when we discussed the features of a federalism. It is very easy to know about the revenue and expenses. If we are sharing the power among local self-government bodies, it is very easy to arrange the revenue and the expenses according on the basis of their revenue. They can arrange the expenses. They can arrange, it is very easy to implement different programs. Different administration will be very easy in a decentralization. That means administration of a decentralized body is very easy because it is very easy to know about the revenue and the expenses of a local self-government bodies. Listen, after 1992, there was an amendment. 1992, 1992 there was an amendment which give more provisions for our local self-government. According to 1992 amendment give a more provisions or give that amendment helps to strengthen the power of a state government. What they did? What was the provisions of 1992 amendment? Provisions of 1992 amendment. First one, it ensure regular election. It ensure regular election. When the amendment was held in 1992, through that amendment it ensured the regular election. That means within 5 years there will be a election which is controlled by a state election commissioner. Second one, it ensure reservation for backward community like SC, ST and OBC. Reservation, it help to ensure reservation for backward community like SC, ST and OBC. Then 1/3. Actually in Kerala we have 1/2 representation is there, but in our textbook it is like that 1/3 of the seat is reserved for a women's. Reservation for that means 1/3 1/3% of a total seat is reserved for a women's. Listen, ensure regular election. That help to strengthen the power of a decentralized bodies and help to strengthen the power. Then by ensuring the reservation for a backward community like SC, ST and OBC. Through such a reservation, such a community will get a platform to deliver their demands. Through that we can avoid the discrimination. Through that, by ensuring a separate by ensuring reservation for a backward communities, we can ensure the participation of the backward communities, which helps to avoid discrimination. Then next one, reservation for the women's. That will helps to ensure the participations of women in politics. The women also will get a chance to deliver their demand. It is very easy to ensure their participation. Listen, did you have any idea? Is it clear to you? Merits of a decentralization of power. Which are the merits of a decentralization of power? that we discussed. It to ensure direct participation of the citizen. It is very easy to know about the revenue and the expenses. Then which are the provisions? Then in 1992, in order to strengthen the power of a decentralized bodies, there was an amendment. According to that amendment helps to strengthen the local self-government body by ensuring regular election. Within 5 years there will be a election in local self-government level. Next one, it ensure the reservation for a backward community, especially SC, ST and OBC. By ensuring such a reservation, it is very easy to know the problems which is faced by a backward community. That will help to avoid discrimination. Next, reservation for women. That reservation through this reservation, especially how much 1/3 of the total seat is reserved for a woman. That is ensure the direct participation of women. Is it clear to you? Today we discuss about how is federalism practiced in India. How is federalism practiced in India? First one, through linguistic state. Second one, through language policies. Third one, center-state relation. Fourth one, decentralization of power. Is it clear? In a linguistic policy means division of power or a division of a state on the basis of a language and otherwise on the basis of a ethnicity, economic ethnicity, then on the basis of ethnicity and economic development, geographical condition and culture. That means division of a state. We are dividing a state on the first in a linguistic policy. There is on division of a state on the basis of a language, geographical condition, culture and ethnicity. Which are the state? Uttarakhand, Jharkhand and Nagaland. These are the state which is divided on the basis of ethnicity and geographical conditions. Then second one, language policy. According to language policy, there is no official language in India. There is no national language in India. We have an official language. Hindi is considered as a official language. There are around 1,500 languages are there in India as a mother tongues of different people. But we have 114 major languages. Among that, we scheduled 22 languages. That means 21 plus English. Like that, 22 languages are considered as a scheduled language. Why is it called so scheduled? The 8th schedule of Indian Constitution, that is mentioned there in the 8th schedule of a Indian Constitution. That is why it is known as a scheduled language. In order to attend a civil service exam and any other central government exams, we can opt any one language among the 21 language, or English is common. During 1965, that English, the provision of English was banned. It caused many problems, especially in Tamil Nadu. Then Tamil Nadu and all other non-Hindi, non-speaking other people, those who are not speaking Hindi, that caused many problems. And then our court again give a consent to give permission for a English. Then next one, third one, central state relation. In a central state relation, in a federal setup, we are dividing our power into central government and a state government. But in central state relation, if the same political parties are ruling the central government and a state government, there may be a chance for a soft corner towards a particular state. In order to avoid that, in 1919, our government introduced one, give a chance for a formation of a regional party in a state level. Moreover, in central government, there was a they got a chance to form a coalition government. Also, coalition government means what? If a single party didn't get a clear-cut majority to form the government, that major party will get a chance to invite the other political parties, those who win the election, to form a government. That is known as the coalition government. That the formation of a coalition government or the consent to form the coalition government helps to strengthen the power of a state government, state parties. Next one, decentralization of power. Decentralization of power means the power is dividing among third tier of the government. Which are the third tier of the government? Panchayat level, Panchayat, block level and Jilla Parishad. Panchayat, block level and Jilla Parishad. That ensure that decentralization of power ensure the direct participation of a common citizen, which helps to enhance the dignity of the Indian citizen. Direct participation, that means if we are getting chance to take part in a decision making, that will enhance the dignity of the Indian citizen. Decentralization of power ensure that direct participation through, I told you, through the Grama Sabha, we will get a chance to deliver our demand. Our Panchayat member will collect our demands and that he will inform to our Panchayat president. Then he will, at last in Jilla Parishad level, there will be a sitting with our MP, MLA, Panchayat presidents. From there, we will get a solution for our problems. Next one, it is very easy to know about the revenue and expenses. According to, on the basis of that, it is very easy to adopt the programs to introduce the different developmental programs. If you know the expense, it is very easy to arrange the developmental activities. Then in 1992, there was an amendment in order to strengthen the power of a local self-government body, 1992, that ensure the direct participation. It is very easy to know the expenses and revenue of a state. It ensure the participation of a backward community like SC, ST and OBC. Then it also ensure the power of participation of a women also by reserving 1/3 of a total seat. That's all. That content is, that topic is over. I hope every concepts are clear to you. If you have any doubt, you can ask to me. That's all. Have a nice day. Thank you.